Parish Union School District number 95 Board of Education for Monday, July the 7th. Let the record show that all members are present except for members ISIF. The voting sequence for this meeting is as follows: Sanchez, Tuttle, Bailey, Calvert, Idle, and Davis. Audience to visitors. Would anyone in the audience like to address the board this evening? If not, consent agenda. In your package, you have the minutes from the June 2nd meeting, a list of bills, and the May Treasurer's Report. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes, consent agenda is it?
Yes. Davis is yes.
We did that tomorrow.
Secretary's report. Oh.
Okay, is that?
That's
Anyway,
that's
that's
from
from
us.
somebody, that's from you?
That's from us.
Okay. Anyway, well, I was just gonna say, if you want to
Yeah.
say something, I'll say something about Lorraine's dad died a week ago, and want to thank everybody in the district for sending flowers and things, especially the Roberts family. Sam was, he was on vacation. I called him, and him and Floyd were pretty close, and so I just wanted to thank him. I'm sure Lorraine will talk to him when he sees him, so thanks, everybody.
And same thing on my behalf. I'd like to say thank you for all the support of the board and the teachers union, and it was really good to have the support all the way up in Anderson with everyone that was here. And what was great was they had the teachers' wreath right there, right next to the casket, and then they had the school board one right next to it too. So it's like everything was right there. So I want to say thank you to everyone in the community also for their support and this quick process that happened.
Okay. Superintendent's agenda.
Okay, first thing, we'll just go ahead, and Dave is here this evening. He did bring some graphics for you to look at, and some of them came from Mr. Han, his son, and Postal Waste Board, and had come up with some ideas, and they're former students of District 95, so we wanted you to look at those and get some ideas, as well as Dave is here on the budget tonight. I sent you, we approved his proposed budget, usually this time of year. As you'll note, he indicates that his has actually gone down. They have cut staff due to reduced numbers over the past few years. District 95 will see over $20-some thousand reduction, even though I believe we may have more students. Do we have more students this year? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the ratio changes just slightly. So the 95 share of the reduction is less than the other side because the ratio increases. The number of 95 students compared to unit 4 students increases. We didn't cut any staff coming into the next school year. In fact, this covers the hiring of a quarter-time chorus position, a full-time industrial arts position, a replacement of our nurse, and a replacement of the band director. So we do have a full staff. Reductions come in the reduction of salaries, specifically in the industrial arts area, and we've also reduced a little bit in our support staff. What we're doing, we kind of shuffled around some things with support staff. And we are also making some fairly large cuts in our maintenance budget for the coming year, with some assumptions being made that we will not be doing the same types of maintenance in the old building that we've always done. There is a chance that if anything goes awry, I don't have the $20,000 sitting there for a boiler problem or something in this budget. So it might be possible that I come to the two boards to share an expense down the road. Although Evelyn Gym, the complex for the industrial arts are in good shape. the main building as far as, heating is in good shape. I think we should make it through the school year without too much trouble. The thing that I would caution you, both boards, is that to continue to expect reductions in our budget is going to be very difficult. We are to the point where we can do nothing but cut programs when it comes to reducing staff. We continue with almost the full industrial arts. We've lost the auto position simply because we can't find somebody to replace the auto. We've actually increased the number of kids that we have in FFA and in the other industrial arts that have taken those positions out of that auto class. Enrollment in industrial arts is up quite large, and I will be putting in front of the high school board next Monday night a new hire just out of Indiana State, former PHS grad to head that program if they so choose. So this budget is pretty lean, and like I said, to expect the same next year would be difficult, especially when we're moving into a new building. Maintenance, I would assume, is going to tick up just a little bit, simply because we need to make sure that we're able to cover all our bases in the new building. I would entertain any questions. Right at $56,000 less than it was for the past fiscal year.
If there's any questions you want to ask of Dave, if not, I would ask that.
I have a question.
Okay.
How can the difference for 95 be less than the difference for Unit 4? I'm sure you've got an explanation I'm not able to figure out.
The ratio is and it's.
It was 64.3 and 64.4.
Yeah, and when you take the that times the amount in the ed fund, the ratio just changes it just a little bit. As per the agreement, Steve, both districts share the education fund, the transportation, in accordance with the ratio of number of students they have here. They share equally the O&M budget.
Okay, well I see 12,000 that came from the IMRF and Social Security. Went from 23 down to 11. That's a lot.
That's just actual cost.
Yep.
In that line item, we just pay whatever we pay. However many staff you have, that's what you're paying in. He did say that you reduced some staff and some costs.
But I mean, I'm talking about the difference in both of those is pretty significant.
You mean the increases there?
Yeah.
That's because prior to this year, we contracted all of that from District 95. And so we did not show that in our line from IMRF. It came out of our ed fund budget. That has been shifted into our own IMRF.
If I remember, Dave, when we formed the co-op, we had to leave the employees there for some, was that for IMRF?
We did, because the IMRF, because we had no record, would have been a higher, we had to pay a higher percentage.
We had moved them over, actually. They had voted to take them. We learned IMRF was going to be so high because they had no history with IMRF, so we hired them back.
Right.
Then this year we shifted because we found out it would actually be lower
Right.
with your ratio than
Right.
ours.
So we still show a $32,000 or a $56,000 lower budget
Right,
with almost $36,000 increase in the IMR.
right, because that came out
So
of the
basically, that's almost $90,000.
Well, no, because that money was in the
You
ed fund.
paid
before.
it.
It was paid
the ed
before.
fund.
It was paid before, but it came out of the ed fund instead of the IMR.
It ran through District 95, but
Okay.
he built more money into the education.
There's actually less money being paid into the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund for our employees, but because we took those employees and made them Paris Co-op employees instead of District 95, we have to pay them out of our IMRF fund. If that makes sense.
I guess I still don't understand how we're at 64.4 and they're at 35.6. And their difference
Number of
is
students.
higher than their cost is less than ours.
Because the ratio changed from the year before.
If the ratio of the year before was 64.3, this year it's 64.4. I mean, it doesn't seem like 0.1% would make that much of a difference. Am I wrong in reading this wrong?
No, you're reading it right. Short of having it's all done on my spreadsheet, Steve, and and I don't have the spreadsheet.
Yeah,
in front of
I
me.
just don't fathom how,
If you take
when we're paying a larger part and there's a deficit, that we should not get the biggest portion of that.
but it's based on,
Enrollment.
on the enrollment.
We
You're
don't
paying-
know, 60-some% of the students come from 95.
I understand it. They did last
He's
year.
saying,
Right.
he's saying that because they have a larger amount of students, then the larger amount of the reduction should go to 95. But because the ratio changed, that 95 has a larger number of the students at the high school
Than we did last year.
than we did last year.
So the percentage doesn't reflect the number of students,
It does.
so, but we only went up 1/10 of 1%, that's what I'm saying?
No, I guess he's saying the percentage of cost we're paying does reflect the students,
Right,
but
right.
it doesn't really show that we had less students last year than, is that one, that we're paying?
All I'm saying is, if we're paying on a percentage basis,
Mhm.
we're paying 64%, then the reduction ought to be 64% ours.
Well, some of the expenses are 50/50.
50-50 for all men.
Yeah, but we're talking about the education fund.
Okay, all right.
And I understand the transportation and all that, you know, we, 15, so they went down 15 in those two, and we went down 38. I guess maybe I'm just not getting it. Maybe somebody can take me aside later and explain it to me.
I can certainly do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Dave, when you have a chance to go through those, if you get together with Steve, just let us know.
Yeah, because if there is an area we need to massage around, basically what we're approving is his proposed budget. If anything needs to be amended or changed, or like he said, because the money only comes from the two districts. So then, Dave, you could clarify it with Steve at some point. We probably need to pass at least a proposed budget. And
Well, I
then,
mean, the percentages that are there work.
right,
Yeah.
If there's a total of, the total is 2409 for us and 1401 for them. And the difference in the budget in the 2 years is $57,000.
Right.
I don't get it. You're gonna have to overlook my stupidity.
No, that's okay. I want to explain it to you. It's, and you're right, it seems like, because the change is small in decimal points, that but when you're talking about $3.3 million, a small percentage is thousands of dollars. I mean, even at 100%, you're talking thousands of dollars. So that change in students, Paris 95 went from 367 out of 570 to 384 out of 596.
Give me those numbers again, would you, Dave? 367 out of 570?
Yep.
And
384 out of 596.
we went up 17, and the total enrollment went up 26.
so they went up 8, we went up 17.
Yeah.
So we were over double from what the increases from 95.
I didn't know that.
Well,
There's something I'm missing.
Other than, if you look at, you mind if I come on? What I've done is, this is the total that's needed in the end fund. So I take that and multiply it by the .644 and 29.
Mhm.
And you come up with the 2 this and the year before, it was the same process, but the ratio was different. And when you're talking $3 million, a
tenth of a percent
is making, it makes, yeah.
is 30. That could never.
It doesn't seem like it should be that big a difference, but it is. I mean, each student costs around $6,600. So,
$6,600 per student.
correct.
Which the good thing is, I mean, our enrollments are up.
Well, the good news is the enrollment is up.
Right. The enrollments
That
up.
means
which is
more
a good
state
sign.
aid,
More
more
state
state aid comes to District 95 because of the enrollment.
Maybe if Steve still got questions, you could meet with him, and this is just proposed, so I would like to go ahead and ask that the board approve the proposed budget for the cooperative high school for the 14-15 school year.
So,
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
yes.
Idle?
No.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, and if any changes would need to be made, I'll bring those back to you if we find that there are some. Okay. Next, I have Scott Bennett here from Turner Construction. He was going to give the board just a really brief update on the high school project, and I thought some of you haven't been able to come out. John just went recently. I walked around with him. Anytime you'd like to, even in the evening, he'd be glad to take you. It's changed a whole lot. So Scott, yeah, hasn't it? It's a lot different with walls up, and so Scott, sorry.
Excuse me, okay. Just a quick update on some of the issues that I reported upon the last cooperative board meeting. The auditorium wetness or moisture issue, that has been remedied. We installed the drain tile, we installed the sump pump, or the sump pit, excuse me. There's a temporary pump in there now that really hasn't been used. If water does, for whatever reason, start accumulating in there after some years rainfall, we can consider putting a pump in there, but for now, what we've done seems to address the situation. The gymnasium slab on grade, there were the two issues there, one being the elevation and one being the thickness issue. The elevation issue has kind of gone away because of the gravity of the thickness issue. We did have the ground penetrating radar testing was done last week. We're awaiting the results of that, the official results of that. We had a meeting with the contractor immediately following that to kind of go over the preliminary results. It does look like the complete removal and replacement of that gymnasium slab on grade will be necessary. However, pending the official results of the report, there still may be two other options, one being a topping slab, the other being an alternate gym wood floor system. So we're still considering those, but it does look like it's going to come down to the complete removal. The basic cause of this was the use of a laser screed, which is a piece of equipment, Zamboni-ish in size, let's say, that has impacted the stone that was underneath. The stone was installed per the specifications. Nothing to be concerned of in terms of the structural stability of that stone under the slab. It's just that this laser screed that was used was not the right piece of equipment for this stone. So, contractor is taking complete responsibility. He's been notified numerous times that he is responsible for all costs associated with this fix. Scheduled impact in the gymnasium, pretty minimal at this time. While it's a big space, not a lot of work in there really, and we can continue to do other work in that space while we're still figuring this out, and we have continued to do that. As a result of the issues in the gymnasium, we have checked the remainder of the building, both physically, and then we did some of the GPR testing in areas of concern. We identified 3 other small areas, probably no bigger, or about the size of that rug in front of you. One of which has already been cut out and replaced because it was in a high traffic area. The other 2 are in the process of being cut out and should be poured back no later than Wednesday. So we've checked the entire building to make sure we don't have any issues. The laser screed was only used in certain parts of the building, but we did check the entire building. So terms of overall progress, we're still on schedule, and by that including the 3-week delay that we had from the winter. We're still showing mid-December substantial completion. We're about 50% of the way through, so that's a bit of a milestone. We're pretty much at a peak of the workers that are out there now. We have 100 plus workers out there pretty much every day, and that'll continue through June, July, and into August. Site work, installing some track drainage at the stadium, putting up the softball field fencing posts, getting ready, laying out the baseball field fencing, and we are working on remedying the parking lots. They took a serious abuse over that same winter, so we're going to have to come up with a solution and probably need to spend some money there to remedy the parking lot. The pre-engineered metal building portion of the building, that work is substantially complete. The only thing remaining are a couple of leave-out areas that were left open so we can continue to get access in and out of the building at the auditorium and over at the gymnasium. They're doing some miscellaneous trim and gutter work and finishing that up. Masonry ongoing in area B, which is the core of the building, and finishing up area C, which is the east side, finishing up area D, again, except for a couple of light leave-out areas. Brick, again, is about complete in area A. The south side of B is pretty much complete, and they're working on some of the north pieces in B. C, they're working on the south side, and again, they'll switch over to the north side of C. Haven't started any brickwork in D, but that's fairly minimal at the gymnasium entrance and concession building. Roofing, area A is complete and dry. Area B and C are kind of ongoing at the same time. We're working on completing those. Most of area D roofing is the pre-engineered metal building, so that's complete as well. Again, the gymnasium entrance and the concession building have some roofing on it. Not really critical areas. We haven't started there yet. Windows done in area A, working in area B, working in area C. So that's allowing us to get the building dry along with the roofing work. Sorry, I'm using my cheat sheet here. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, all of that HVAC work, electrical work, ongoing, rough in, ongoing throughout. Big milestone a couple of weeks ago, all the rooftop units were set in place. If you've been out there, even if you drive by, you can see those set up on the roof. So again, that's helped us get the roof tied in and complete. The main electrical switchgear is in place in the electrical room, so that's another pretty good milestone. We're working on getting the building up and running and powered from that switchgear so we can get some of the HVAC units started. The auditorium is kind of its own animal, working on the underslab prep work in there in terms of there's a lot of conduits that go into that stone for the seat lighting. The first concrete pour in that area is supposed to happen this week. Second one will happen next week. Then you'll see that wall get closed up. While that's getting closed up, we will put what we call the dance floor, a temporary scaffold that'll go wall to wall, wall to wall, allow the workers to work on all the ceiling work. That'll get dropped down once, allow them to do some of the wall work, drop down all the way, and then the finishes in the auditorium. Auditorium is really our critical path of the building right now, always has been really. So we've developed a detailed schedule just for the auditorium. That's about it. Any questions?
I'm just curious, the 3 other areas of concern with the concrete work had that laser screening machine been over those 3 areas also? Is that what caused?
Yes, they were found in the laser. It's a screed, by the way.
Screed?
So you're not confused. A laser screed with a D. And they were found in 3 areas where the laser screed was used. The one, actually, at least 2 of the areas, it was where that screed would have been doing a lot of turning. Contractor thought that they were coming back and addressing those areas after it would move. Obviously didn't catch some of those areas.
Scott, if they decide not to take up the whole floor, will our building committee be involved in that decision?
Certainly.
I just want to make sure.
They'll be involved in whatever decision is made.
Okay.
The architect will make a recommendation, Sharon will make a recommendation. Contractor, I'm sure will have something to say on it.
Yeah.
But again, they've been very open and forthright in admitting their mistake and
Okay.
wanting to do what's right in correcting it. Now, they haven't gone as far as saying we will absolutely rip it out and replace it, but pending the results of this testing that we did, I think.
They came close to finding out.
They did.
If it, go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead.
If you take it out and report, what are you gonna do about the 2-inch variance in height?
They'll put it back.
Correct that.
That'll go away.
Will you
They'll
have to fill
up
more
with
rocks?
more stone, yeah. Actually, no, he actually indicated he would probably, he indicated it would probably be a little bit of both. He doesn't want to put more stone in there because he's aware of the problem he has with that stone. You'd probably end up getting a thicker slab, at least that's what he said at our last meeting. So,
Good.
Who's he? Handy
the
or?
contractor from Handy Construction, yeah, the president.
I must miss it. I know we've had a water issue with the auditorium.
And the auditorium.
Yeah, could you go through that again for me, please?
That's okay. We studied it, we being Turner, MET, which is your testing company, VLED, we dug a test pit to confirm where that water was coming from. It was not coming from up underneath the ground. So it kind of confirmed our theory that it was runoff from basically the entire building, because that section of the entire building pad is 3 feet lower due to the slope of the seating, and just basically all the water from site was going to that low spot. Once we got the roof on, once we got it mostly enclosed, you know, it started drying out, but it just wouldn't dry out. So we dug it out, we installed a drain tile right in front of the orchestra pit. We connected that drain tile over to one of the maintenance or utility closets that was there already, and there's a sump pit there, and that's all connected. Since we've done that, it's basically gotten completely dry. The area's been cut out and replaced with stone. MET tested it for compaction. It passed with flying colors, and as I said, they're getting ready to put the slab on grade in there. So,
Did you do any sealing on the outside of those walls when they put the drainage in to keep the?
yeah, all the exterior walls get sealed.
But you're not thinking, well, they're not thinking at all it was even coming from
No.
the walls. They're thinking there was no roof on. So when we get heavy rains,
Oh, I
the
thought
water
it
was
was
all
from the
running.
outside.
No,
The
that's
water
right. That's
was
why we
running
dug
to
the
the low
test
spot.
pit, and we dug it, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6.
Tested on the outside?
No, inside.
Inside.
Right next to where the wetness was.
Yeah.
To see if that water was in fact
Underground
coming from up
water.
underneath, and that test pit stayed dry for days and days and days. So it clearly was not coming from up from underneath. So that was the good news, but we did decide to put that drain tile in there, just in case. Again, it is the low spot of the building, it's money well spent in case it ever becomes an issue again. I mean, this was obviously a very unusual winter with a lot of rain.
Well, it won't become an issue since you have already put the drain tile
Right,
in.
it won't, and if there was ever any issue, we also have the ability to put something up there. But they really don't feel it was coming from groundwater or walls anyway. It was because it was the lowest spot in the whole place, and we had no roofs, and the water was just running to the lowest spot. But it seems to be, that theory seems to be holding.
Yes, it's been dry ever since we put
So right now, we don't need a sump.
Not right now, no.
And I do want to say, I mean, I was out there at 30%, and I was just out there at our 50%, and I mean, it's unbelievable what you guys are doing out there. It's looking great, so I just want to let you know. 'Cause, I mean, I saw the issue with the pit, you know, a couple months ago when it happened, and then from where it was this past Tuesday, I mean, completely dried out. So there's.
And we discussed that we want to get this floor issue taken care of, but then Nancy, we also want to extend after that, be calling the Beacon and have them come out and have you do some-
Dave and I were just talking about
Okay.
that.
Okay, so we want to make sure you know that as well, because we've got more publicity the better, and it's coming along, you know, really nicely now, and taking care of some of the issues that we've run into, so.
And as Connie said, if any of you want to come out, just.
Yeah, anytime. And what I thought maybe, Scott, was August or September's meeting, maybe we either start there or we, something at just the full board and take a look for people who haven't been able to get there. You tell us what month would be better where we are, because by 5 o'clock or something's when our meeting starts, we can either start there and then reconvene here, or go out about 6.
Whatever you like.
Okay. So you think about that and let me know, but I think that might just be a good way. That's just part of our, you know, we're gonna take a tour and then we'll conduct our meetings.
Good.
That'd be on the night that you're gonna be expecting to be here anyway, and so that might just accommodate everybody. Okay. That's all
I've
I
been
know.
there most every evening, so.
I know. And we'll do it while it's still light enough and,
Well, yeah, that's no
okay.
problem.
All right, well, thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you, Scott.
We had a couple of retirement requests. Kim Lusader, who has been teaching at Memorial School, and she's been a special ed teacher for us for many years, has asked for to retire in the 2017-18 school year. She's also asking for the retirement incentive as per the APT contract. I would ask that the board accept Kim's letter. These are irrevocable letters, I might add. So once the person, they are taken then off of the pay schedule, and I will mention the same thing with Mrs. Perry. Once you're put on the retirement track, it doesn't matter if the teacher's got 3% or 2% or 1%, you know, they move off of that. That has nothing to do with them anymore. They go on to the 6% retirement out.
They don't get that.
No, you don't get that in addition.
Normal negotiated rate
No.
plus the 6.
Now, once your letter is submitted and approved by the board, you're off that scale onto your own scale. So I would ask that the board accept Kim's retirement request.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey? Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
The next one comes from Amy Perry. Amy is serving as principal, as you know, at Wentz Elementary School. She served for many, many years before that as our special ed liaison and title region coordinator. She's asking to send her letter as well for her resignation, as we've done with most of our administrators in the past, whether it's Medicine Paul Lockhart. She is asking for the incentive as well, but she would also be moved over onto another scale. So I would ask that the board accept her retirement request for the end of the 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
I guess that's it. Yeah, 4 years. We do have some resignations. We did receive a letter of resignation from Lindsay Gosnell. She's fourth grade teacher at Wentz School, and hated to receive this from her, well, from anyone actually. She decided she would like, she has a little boy, and she's decided she would like to stay home and be with him until he enters school. So I would ask that the board accept the resignation of Lindsay Gosnell.
So moved.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, to fill that position, since we've known about this, we went ahead and had it posted because we need to find people as quickly as possible. I have a recommendation from Mrs. Perry to fill this position left vacant by Lindsay. Actually, she's planning to move Danny Crafts up to 5th, and they've talked about that. And from 5th to the 4th, is that what you're doing, Dana? Okay, and she is asking for the board to approve Kaylin Eastham to fill the 5th grade vacancy. Kaylin has been, is a certified teacher, but she's been working in our Title I program for the past several years. I would ask the board to approve the employment of Kaylin Eastham as the elementary teacher for Wentz School for the 14-15 school year.
So moved. Or second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey? Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, we have a recommendation from Mr. Don to employ special education preschool teacher. Our preschool teacher there had resigned earlier, and Gary is asking that the board approve the employment of Faith Davis to serve as the special ed preschool teacher at Memorial School for the 14-15 school year. I'd ask the board to approve this request.
So moved.
Second.
Just for the record, she's no relation, I don't know her.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to abstain?
No.
Well, she, I see she's been way away from here. Is that a problem in the future as far as keeping people locally?
No, she's moving to this area. The last time we met in June, I said, your job was pending board approval. And so before she signed the lease down here, she called and said, are you sure I have a job before I sign the lease? And I said, I have no reason to believe that, you have anything to worry about. So So she's been in the building, she's moved some stuff in, and she's ready to get down here and go to work, so.
It's very, very difficult to find certified people in special ed preschool, so we would hire no matter where, because it's a total different certification. It's not just an elementary or even a pre-K like we have out here at Creative Center, it's a whole separate certificate. So, yeah, we're glad that you were pleased with her. We had several applicants actually, and that she is planning to go to the area. So, that's a good thing.
Any other discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Did we get a?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Sanchez. Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
And to work as a paraprofessional in that room, Mr. Don is recommending we employ Danielle Carey. We also have Letha Brown left. She was the paraprofessional in that classroom before. So I would ask the board to approve the employment of Danielle Carey for the 14-15 school year as a paraprofessional in Memorial School.
So moved.
Any other discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay. We had the resignation of Colton Julian earlier as a Title I aide at Mayo Middle School. Mr. Larson has been interviewing, and he is recommending Jamie Rollins to fill that position for the next school year. I'd ask the board to approve the employment of Jamie Rollins to serve as a Title I paraprofessional at Mayo Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey? Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Extra duty assignment list, Mr. Larson has included for your review a copy of his extra duty assignments from Mayo Middle School for the 14-15 school year. I'd ask the board to approve that list.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, next it's time, once again, to approve the prevailing wage rates as were submitted to us. And we are bound to abide by, so I included that schedule for your review. I'd ask the board to approve the prevailing wage resolution for the 14-15 school year. And we really have no option. So it's not optional.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, I included a copy of our commercial insurance renewal package recommended through our consulting firm, which is Insurance Audit and Inspection out of Indiana. The entire package went up 6.5%, which is really, we expected due to the large claim we had at Mayo Middle School with our fire. So, which we would expect maybe a small increase anyway, but that did impact our renewal rate. I'd ask that the board approve the renewal of our commercial package with WRM America for the 14-15 school year.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay. You have an agreement in your packet for the lunch agreement between Paris District 95 and St. Mary's School. I can combine both of these if you don't mind, and I'll do the Head Start
Can we
agreement.
do them
as well.
separate, please?
Oh, but you want to abstain, sorry.
Thanks.
I would ask that the board approve the lunch agreement with St. Mary's School.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis abstains.
Okay, I'll do the Head Start lunch agreement, which we have provided their lunches, and those rates stay the same, as well as our Head Start lease agreement. We did do a 2-year agreement. We had raised their lease just slightly, about $25 a month last year. This 2-year, we keep it steady this year and go up $25 for a month the next year. They currently, it would be $1,750 a month is what they give us now. They rent part of the one building over here, and it's been a really nice relationship that we've had with them. We would love keeping them here, yes, because their program helps feed into our programs as well, and works well with our Creative Center. So I would ask the board to approve the Head Start food service agreement as well as the Head Start lease agreement for the 14-15 school year for the food, and to run through 15-16 for the lease agreement.
So,
Second.
Any discussion? If not,
I said our food costs went up 8%.
Right, they've always paid higher than what our lunch rates are. They're at like $2.50, I believe, and we just did not raise that. Ours are $2.10. They've always paid more than ours.
any other discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
We did receive only one fuel proposal from Illini IFS. The proposal is the same as last year. It remains at 3 cents under the pump price, which is the rack price per gallon. I'd ask the board to approve the Illini IFS as our direct fuel provider.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, most of the things in July we're renewing and bidding, and so the next is acceptance of our food bids. Our food bid opening was Wednesday, June 25th at 2 p.m. in this office. We received 2 bread bids from Alpha Baking Company and Bimbo Bakeries, 1 milk bid received from Prairie Farms, 3 grocery bids from Fox River, B&B Foods, and Cisco. Our food service coordinator, Darla Davidson, is recommending Alpha Bread Company for the bread products, Prairie Farms for the milk, and Fox River as the primary supplier for grocery items. She will also use B&B and Cisco, as we've always done in the past, as secondary vendors. So what she does is wherever she finds the most reasonable price on produce or whatever she's ordering, that's who she goes through. There's a 2% increase in bread, a 3% in milk. Of course, as you see, we almost always only get 1 bid for milk to begin with, and an 8% increase on average of grocery items, which is probably fuel costs, which that's not uncommon as well. I ask the board to approve these vendors for the 14-15 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey? Calvert?
Yes.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, next is our transportation contract. I'm asking that the board approve another 1-year contract with MSB Transportation. As you can see on their daily route rates, they're only recommending a 0.02% increase, which is very minimal. The driver's rate, they're recommending a 0.05% increase in their hourly rate for the drivers to be more competitive in this local area. This time I'd ask the board to approve another 1-year contract between MSB Transportation and District 95.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Sanchez?
Excuse me.
That's right. Go
Is
ahead.
this just for the,
It's for everything. It's for our daily routes.
Not the high school.
Well, high school has that built in their budget, so those increases, hourly rates will also affect the high school, and Dave built that in. He knew what the increase, or in fact, he may have built in a little more. They do all the high school's transportation as well.
Yeah.
But that's divided between the districts. It's
Yeah.
built into our tuition costs.
We have very little transportation
Oh.
on 95, do we?
Big-
We don't have that much
We
transportation.
have 4 routes, 4 daily routes, and you saw the cost of the daily routes and field trips and, that type of thing. So mainly, it will affect the high school some for their,
Right.
field trips and their sports and that kind of, but Dave's aware of that as well.
Any other discussion? If not, Sanchez?
So moved. Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Bailey? Calvert?
Abstain.
Idle?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, we had, Nick sent me several more donations to be accepted for the Mayo Roberts softball field. I'd ask the Board of Education accept the following donations. The Beacon News, $500. Pay Center Sports, $500. Harrison State Farm from Rob Hackett, $500. I'd ask the board.
What is the total?
Oh, what have you gotten so far, Mick? I don't know.
About 25,000.
currently back there?
I went out
It's
there
almost
today.
done, we're probably 85% done. We could plug it out if we had to, we just gotta put the scoreboard up and finish the dugouts, but we'll do that in the next 10 days, it'll be done.
And Nick, I was not able to be there, but congratulations on being
Oh,
inducted in the Wabash Valley.
Yes.
I'm assuming most of your family was there and.
Nope, nobody.
Oh, you were on the doggone cruise, weren't you? I was at a conference.
Showing for their loyalty slide.
Yeah.
I went too.
He was supposed to go with them.
But anyway, I did say that, and the field does look really nice, so.
Yeah, congratulations on
Yeah.
basically single-handedly getting all the donations.
Yes.
That's a major asset.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice
district
for 'em. It'll be a nice
for
place
no
to
cost.
Yeah, it's gonna be really nice. Did we have a vote yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
I jumped in, but.
That's okay, but you already
We
had
did
your,
have a motion.
Yeah.
I think we had your motion.
Thanks for keeping that.
Oh,
So we-
Yeah, I appreciate that.
okay,
So moved. I don't think we had a motion.
okay.
Second.
No, we did.
No, Ellen says no, she writes it down.
Thanks, Ellen.
Good job, Evan.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Calvin.
Yes.
Idle.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Davis.
Just a few things under informational. Mrs. Perry got a letter from the Illinois PBIS, which is our behavioral training network, congratulating Wood School on being recognized at the silver level for its implementation of that program. You have included an update on the softball field that Nick's kind of told you a little bit about that. We did have an OACM meeting on last week. We'll have another one next week, but pretty much what Scott said. I asked him to come here after that just to keep everybody, I'd rather you hear it from him and ask questions from him than trying to rely on just our notes. But as you can tell, any issues that have arisen, we've been getting taken care of. And we did meet with Hanny and those people last week, and I felt very confident that from what they were saying, and from the preliminary testing, they felt that the floor was and I'm sure they're aware that that's the board's
Yeah.
feelings, but once they saw, had they seen from this preliminary test not very many issues, they would have come back, I'm sure, and said, we think we can take care of that. I think we were seeing that there's several areas, and that involves cutting out areas and trying not to get the vapor barrier.
And how you seal them and
Well,
how you keep it to.
And we just did
concrete floor
10-foot
and
sections apart with this machine, which is, and I want to thank Bob Paulman from contacting, he contacted me, and then got Jason to hold up with this particular piece of equipment that you actually can see, and it measures the depth. And they had not ever used that, well, they did kind of look around and they found this company and they said it was remarkable after they used it. We did only do 10 foot apart. If there were to be discussion on, well, we don't think there's that much of a problem, I don't think so from what we saw preliminarily, then we would request you go 5 feet. We want that testing done again because we feel like it's not just an isolated incident where that rock is moved and all it is caused to have lots of areas that are not 4 inches.
Connie, that's the reason I asked the question. I just didn't want Turner to be able to say, okay, just do it this way and.
I believe at one point, the test looked quite differently than when we got there last week and we looked over the preliminary results. They may very well have felt compelled to tell us if they thought that was the only section of the floor, then we may very well have heard that it would be our recommendation to go ahead and do a topping slab or a thicker floor. They were aware that our board might not be agreeable to that anyway, but they seemed to feel after they saw preliminary testing the same.
Could I ask again, and maybe I missed it, what caused this? Do we know?
2 things, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I've talked to contractors, I've talked to engineers, I've talked to people that were there that saw the tour. The laser screed could have contributed to the displacement. You know, when you turn something, you can displace rock. I would rather think that hauling that concrete in there is George buggies, the tire slippage, rolling that visc queen up, probably caused more of a problem than the laser screed itself. But that's the 2 things I think could have caused this situation.
Well, Hannah indicated they had never used our particular base. Not that it was an appropriate base, but they had never poured floor on that type of a rock base, and it does have a tendency to move more. And that they did see some issues with it early on, they thought they had taken care of. He also mentioned in 30-some years of business, they had never had to take out a gym floor, I will say that, but he was not, he could see on the screen what we were seeing from our testing and agreed that they would definitely make it 100% right, which I think is the nice thing about having contractors too that are local, fairly local, and they do a lot of business in this area, so I'm sure they want it to be right, they want us to be pleased. But you're right, Steve, they said they would not use and they won't use that again on that floor. In fact, they may do 4 pours on the floor instead of doing one big, huge pour.
Yeah, and
Due to the base.
And when we were out there where they had cut the sections out already to look, the conduit with all that pressure and stuff, the conduit had pushed its way up too. So, I mean, right there, that tells you with the pressure and stuff, that was a big issue.
Yeah, they
Was the
said that.
conduit or the reinforcement?
No, there was a conduit that the electrical, that was going to the other side of the gym. That moved up and they wouldn't have noticed that, you know, if they wouldn't have cut that up.
So, I mean, I think it was, they were,
Yeah.
I felt pretty confident that day in the meeting that what they were telling us was they felt like they knew what was going to have to take place, but the exact results are not in. They'll be in this week from the independent testing, and I will give all of you a call or send a memo out when I know that. And then if there is a reason, I think everybody would be in agreement if they said they're going to take the floor up. I don't think I'd have to really, I just inform you. If there's any other discussion going on, I will get a hold of everybody and we will set up a meeting and with both boards, I'm sure, and discuss it further at that point. But I'm feeling pretty confident after meeting with them that they're going to do what's right.
Insurance people.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing.
It
I
is,
know
but
they're gonna fix it.
But it's not going to, it's not delayed our project, nor will it, because like I said, there's not much to do in the gymnasium, and mostly what you do is at the very end, so it will not hold up the project, and if it's made right, I think, we're gonna get a really good product in the end, so it's just been frustrating.
Yeah.
But at least it's found, we identified it.
I think it's gonna be fixed.
Exactly.
It's a shame that we had to have a mishap to find the problem.
Right. But good thing we had the mishap. Or we would have found the problem.
It was lucky that that happened.
Yes, it was very
really
lucky.
lucky that it happened.
Yes, because we wouldn't have known.
No.
And so therefore, we did test all other areas of the floor, because in the smaller areas, it was much easier for them to control that, but in that gymnasium, it's huge. And, like you said, they'd never worked with this type of base, and yes, they did know there was an issue. It's not that they didn't think there was anything going on, but they thought they had compensated for it and taken care of it. So, but he was very upfront saying, it was our issue and we will take care of it.
We're better off.
Well, the elevation was wrong, so I'm so
Since the
much
elevation
clearer.
was
Yes. If the elevation hadn't been off, that'd have been one thing, but now there's 2 problems, and I think that's where they knew as well. Now we've got even an issue with what's there. What's the point in trying to dig out all of these parts?
At least you hadn't put the floor down yet.
Exactly. So anyway, that's all the information I have, and
That's all I can ask you about this FOIA request. You guys contract how much time you spend on that stuff?
I had Anna come in and have them work some days on their vacation. It is very time consuming, but I will tell you, we did figure out that we do have a program on our computer, and it does have FOIA thing, and it goes back, so since all districts are getting these, they are putting that into the software now, so you can go back 4 years and pull up all your vendors.
But I mean, it still
It
takes
is
time.
very
it's paperwork. I mean, I'd like to see, keep track of what you're doing, because the state, I understand, you need to know stuff, but some of this stuff.
Well, this is from companies that you don't even know.
Yeah.
You can't call anybody. I can email, could you give us a little more time? My office manager's gone, you get no response.
No, you
There's no
can't,
phone number.
you can't charge them for this.
No,
No.
not if they're not using it to make money on. If it's just public information, there you go.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, I mean, that's just what you run into. We're running into more and more, it's not just us, it's the whole
Yeah.
state, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any committee reports this evening? Public hearings and petitions, unfinished business, matters for follow-up, new business?
Yes, ma'am, sir.
Yes.
I just want to mention, on July the 22nd, at Karis Oaks Theater in Terre Haute, is going to be a documentary on Common Core. If anybody would like to attend. If you can't make the 22nd meeting, there's one on July the 29th. The one on the 22nd is at 8 p.m. Indiana time. The one on the 29th is at 7:30 p.m. Indiana time.
What day of the week is that?
Sorry?
Is
What day of the week?
Friday or Saturday?
It's Tuesday,
Oh,
July 22nd is Tuesday. Well, the 8th, so the 29th will be Tuesday.
Okay,
Thank you.
right to revert to prior order of business. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Bailey, Calvert,
Yes.
Idle,
Yes.
Isom.
Yes.
Williams, yes, the meeting is adjourned.